Let's look at number 3. From graphing polynomials, try these. So when I'm looking at this particular function, I recognize that each one of the 3 terms contains an x. And in fact, I can factor out an x squared. And I'd be left with negative 1x squared minus 4x plus 4. Oh, minus 4. Let's make sure this is correct. I multiply to get negative 1x to the 4th. I multiply to get negative 4x to the 3rd. And I multiply to get negative 4x squared. All looks good. So what the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to see, is this factorable? So what multiplies to equal a positive 4 and combines to give us a negative 4? Negative 2 and negative 2 multiplies and combines. But whenever the leading coefficient is not a 1, we got to do a little more work. Remember, that's when we're going to do the AC plus B method. So I put down a negative 1x squared, I put down a negative 4, and then in the middle, I'm dropping down negative 2x and negative 2x. I can factor out a negative 1x, and I'd be left with x plus 2. Let's make sure, negative 1x squared and minus 2x. Minus 2 gives us a negative 2x, and minus 2 gives us a negative 4. The front and the back both contain an x plus 2, and the front is a negative 1, x, and a negative 2. Now I have 2 quantities here that I'm going to set equal to 0, setting them equal to 0, and in front I have an x and an x. So x squared is the same as x times x. So here are my 4 different factors, setting each one equal to 0. So this one is x equals 0, that's 1, and then I have another x equal to 0, so I have a double root at x equals 0. Here I have x plus 2 equals 0, I move 2 to the other side, I have x equals negative 2, and negative 1x minus 2 equals 0, add 2 to the other side, divided by negative 1, and I have x equals negative 2. So I have a double again. I have a double at negative 2, and I have a double at 0. What does it mean when there's a double? When there's a double, it's going to bounce off. So at 0, it's going to bounce off, and at negative 2, it's going to bounce off. And how do you know if it bounces off going down or it bounces off going up? We'll talk about that next. So I need to go to negative 2 and 0. So here's 0, 1, 2. Okay, in this particular problem, we can see that we have an even degree, but the leading coefficient is negative. Even negative. Even negative means it goes down on the left and it also goes down on the right. So it has to bounce off here. So it's down on the left and down on the right. So it bounces off this way and it bounces off going. So it's down on the left, down on the left and down on the right. So it bounces off and bounces off again. So it bounces off the x-axis at 0, it bounces off the x-axis at negative 2, and it's going down in either direction. And we can also see, by the way, that our y-intercept, it would be, if you plug 0 in for x, it would also just be 0. So we have a y-intercept of 0.